Hey everybody, it's Stacy with Pageantry Now, and I'm super excited for today's show. We're going to have on one of my friends, Jeri Ward, and she's going to talk about one of the more important goals of the American Heart Association and Go Red for May for stroke. And she's going to talk about her work with the American Heart Association, but more importantly, her special project and her story called Stroke of Luck. So with that getting said, we're going to have her on in just a second. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Stacy Simpson here. Welcome to Pageantry Now. We're all about positivity and pageantry, being able to highlight the amazing things that title holders do using a crown and a sash to tell their story and change their world. Just so you know, we're all about positivity. So please make sure if your comments below, leave them happy. We want good things to be shared. And you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube at Pageantry Now. And with that being said, I've got my only guest today, which I'm so excited to be able to have her on. Let me see. Hey, how are you?
Hello, I'm so good, Stacey. Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot.
Well, introduce yourself to our viewers so they know who you are.
Absolutely. I am Jeri Ward. I'm Mrs. Ohio International 2021.
Awesome. And you do so many amazing things. I know you work for the American Heart Association. We are both wearing red because, this is my
As
charity of choice.
always.
It is your charity of choice as well. Um,
Indeed.
and and let's talk a little bit more about why you do this crazy thing called pageantry, because at the end of the day, it is kind of nuts.
It is. I can't argue that point. But I found that as I've gotten older, pageantry has really taken a whole different view to me. I know that for me, I always had a platform, but I never had one as important and close to me as the one that I have right now. And so Mrs. Ohio International and Mrs. International, I'm so glad that I have the platform that I have, which is called Stroke of Luck. And Stacey, as you know, I had a really interesting situation and story happen to me when I was 30 years old. I'm now 32, so I'm just a little bit out from that time frame.
Can't believe that it's only been 2 years. Like
I
you
know.
seeing the video, we'll show some of the videos, but seeing the videos and seeing the remarkable comeback that you've had, and now you're competing in a pageant. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more about that.
So competing in Mrs. International was actually my goal. So in speech and occupational therapy, I really needed to have a goal to work toward. And having to learn how to speak, read, move, and write again, this is an excellent goal. Why not put yourself in front of thousands of people and learn how to speak again? So let's back up just a little bit. So, the reason that I lost the ability to speak, move, read, and write was because I had a massive stroke at the age of 30. My stroke was an ischemic stroke, which essentially means that the blood vessels in my brain, there was a blockage, and therefore parts of my brain could not get oxygen or blood. And so that was what caused my ischemic stroke at that time. So I think it's crazy because a lot of times people don't estimate or understand that people can have strokes at younger ages. But the fact of the matter is that people can have strokes while they're in womb or when they're just being born. So it really doesn't discriminate at all.
Well, and that was one of the things that I know you now work. I don't know, were you working with the American Heart Association before the stroke, or is this
No,
become
no, no.
so your whole life has changed in a matter of 2 years to really putting forth everything you possibly can to be able to educate people? Because I mean, I've even learned information from you about stroke that I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm a heart disease survivor, so I do work with the American Heart Association as well. But the information that I've gotten from you about stroke
Right.
has really helped to make me more aware. Like I know whenever I've got a headache now, I walk up to Mike and I stick out my tongue and I'm like, is it even? Because that's kind of what happened with you. You had a headache that wouldn't go away, right?
Yeah,
So
for
tell me a
sure.
little bit more about that
My
process and what happened with you.
Will do. So my life, and now, as you said, Stacy, is 100% stroke. So I live stroke, I breathe stroke, I work stroke. Everything that I do in my life is centered around what happened to me. And it's obviously very important to me, but what's most important to me is helping to save the lives of others. Because as we have found that 80% of strokes are preventable. And so with that being said, we have a lot of work to do. So at the age of 30, I was a social worker and an avid volunteer. All of my time, all of it was spent working for and with other people to make their lives better, really. And I'm just a humanist in nature. This is what I do, it's what I'm happy to do, it's where I find the most joy. But because of that, because of all the giving that I was doing for other people, I really, really neglected myself. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't getting out and taking enough walks or just me time, really. And I feel like, Stacey, you know that a lot of people can relate to that because, especially as women, right? We put ourselves on the back burner all the time.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest challenges is that um, the whole Go Red initiative is really based on helping women be more informed about what the signs of heart attack are, what the signs of stroke are for women, because previously all of the education was about men's effects, and women's are
Right.
totally the symptoms are
Yep.
so different for women that women put all of this time, this energy into everybody else, and they were neglecting themselves. And now I don't know the stroke statistic, but I know heart disease is the number one killer of women in the world.
Mhm.
So stroke has got to be up there as well because we don't know what to look for.
Right. So stroke is actually the number 5 killer in the United States and is the number 1 cause of long-term disability in the United States. So with that being said, we have a lot of work to do around prevention. And as Stacey, you mentioned, I previously did not know the signs and symptoms of a stroke at all. So I was completely unaware that I was having the stroke when I had it. I had a constant headache for 4 or 5 days before my stroke. I assumed it was just stress because everyone has stress, right? Everyone goes through things in life where they're just trying to manage and stay afloat. And I thought it was just how it was, and I was just being a pansy and needed to get over it and continue on. But really, I almost killed myself due to stress and overworking.
That's crazy. I mean, and we as women do that. We push through it because we've kind of been
Mhm.
trained. You just push through it. It's a rough day, whatever that is. I know um, because of information that I got from you. One of actually my coworker called me on Friday. She says, "I think my mom's having a stroke." I said, "Get her to the
Mm.
hospital right away and make sure that they get the TIA medication, right?"
TPA, yep,
TPA.
TPA, yeah.
I said TIA, but I was like, I don't know what it is, but it starts with a T.
That's a
So get
stroke.
her in. And and she had a stroke. She was discharged on Sunday with very little effect.
Mm.
And it really was because immediately when she called me, I'm like, get her to the hospital right away.
Yeah.
Because if they're able to get those medications in, and then it was because of you that I was like, oh my gosh, this is Jeri. Okay, I got to do this. And so let's talk about how the process went through and telling your OT, I think I'm going to do a pageant to be able
Yeah,
to
I'm
work
pretty sure
as a
they thought I was
pool.
nuts. They definitely thought that I was nuts. So I actually I had a headache for 5 days and I ignored those symptoms. And then all of a sudden, I had vision loss, I had vision blurriness, I had something that seems like vertigo, like the room was spinning. And I went through the entire process, went to the hospital, went through brain surgeries because I was not in time for TPA, which is around an hour to 3 hours. I had waited 4 or 5 days, right? So my life could have been saved if I would have just listened to my own symptoms and earlier, I wouldn't have had near as many deficits as what I have now if I would have just paid attention. But I went through living in the ICU, and then I was only really able to move my eyes for a long time. And then I got out of the hospital, still major deficits, couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't speak. I could kind of move, but I kind of looked like a penguin when I was walking because of the balance issues that I had. Yes, it was pretty intense. Um, but in speech and occupational therapy, they really worked with me because they knew that I really wanted to get back to life because that was what I was fighting for. And I made the decision when I was in the ICU that if I ever learned how to speak again, I would do everything in my power to ensure that other people didn't go through what I went through, especially knowing that it was preventable. That was my number one decision. And they said that I wouldn't be able to speak and move and read and write, but I was determined because I just knew that if I believed in myself, that I could manage it, make it happen.
Wow, and you did. I know, 2 weeks ago, you shared on social media a video of you learning to speak again, and it is worth watching just because of the fact that I mean, I don't wanna laugh, but you were kinda laughing at yourself, so I don't know if
Yeah.
it was that if you were laughing at yourself out of frustration or if you were laughing at yourself because 'cause you're like, "I know how to do this, why does that word not come out of my mouth?"
I think a lot of times people see me laughing and smiling in my recovery videos or photos, and they're like, "Was it not that bad?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was awful." But people
Horrible.
got to understand that I didn't do anything before, right? So when you have those moments when you're learning and you see a little bit of progress, it may not be a lot because it never was a lot at one time. But when you see a little bit of progress and you're able to do something that you weren't able to do the day before, you're just so filled with joy and just pure love for life and the ability to get a little bit of you back. And I always joke with people and tell them I'm Jeri 2.0 versus Jeri 1.0. And I love Jeri 2.0 a lot more than 1.0. And I just have a new appreciation for everything in
I totally understand. I'm Stacy 4.0, so I get it. Like I
life.
know.
It
I,
just gets better and better,
it
doesn't
gets
it?
better and better, which is
Every
good.
single year.
We just need to, and I think the biggest challenge is that we don't know how to show kindness to ourselves and find those moments.
Right,
Like
right,
I know with me, with my cancer before my heart problems, like I laughed the whole time and made fun of it, and people
mhm,
get offended because I was like, okay, what else do I have to do? Like, I have to look
right,
at what,
right.
like you said, what your goals are. You've had this amazing situation happen to you. I can't believe it's just been 2 years since you had your stroke. And now you're deciding to not only do all the great things that you're doing for yourself to help yourself, you've also started your own program called Stroke of Luck. So can you tell us about that and how you're helping other people go through this process?
Yes. So stroke of luck was born due to the fact that I got really lucky during my stroke. But most people, with it being the number one cause of disability in the world, do not get as lucky as I did. And with that being said, I figured that I would be the person to fix it if I could, because I've been through a lot of things and I learned a lot of things and I met with a ton of survivors. So stroke of luck actually is born due to the fact that we need more education, we need more people acting, and we need more people saving. So what I've ventured on is a stroke of luck media tour, which is an education tour around the world. And so far, I've spoken with almost 32,000 people across the world. And then, yeah, it's been amazing, honestly. And what I've found is that we're all a lot more similar than what we're different, actually. So that's been really interesting to learn, but also to learn how people survive stroke around the world because people have different types of medication, they have different types of therapy, they have different types of recovery processes. And so to really see how people are combating the same disease across the world has been absolutely amazing. And I've also launched my Be Fast campaign, which I think that you took a part of, which was it's a social awareness campaign, which has reached so many people across the world. I think we're 23 countries with the Be Fast campaign right now.
That is,
So,
see, and I think it's so amazing that you're taking something that in most cases people would see as the worst case scenario,
mhm.
and do a woe is me or feel sorry for me, type of situation. And you're taking it as, I am going to do this. I am going to be better. And not only that, I'm going to help make the world a better place. And that is really, in so many ways, to me, what pageantry really is about. And so few people really understand that when you've got a crown, it enables you a lot of confidence. It enables you a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't normally get. It enables you to open doors. I always say my crown is my microphone, because people listen to you more. So how are you? And I mean, I know that that's a juggling act too, because now you work for the American Heart Association. So how do you juggle that pageant life with the American Heart Association, as well as with Stroke of Luck, and putting it all together, and still being a wife and doing all of those things in regular life as well?
I think it's funny in life. One of what I found, especially as a missus, is that people often underestimate what we can do and how we can do everything that we do. But when your life is this isn't just a side platform that I've generated for a pageant. I mean, this is the life of my husband and I. This is what we do every day. This is what we live. And we found throughout our journey that truly you either get better or you get better. And we just decided that we're going to take what we have. I was granted a second life and I'm so appreciative of it. And so, sometimes I'm on the internet at, you know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night for a 9 or 10 a.m. in Australia meeting, or sometimes it's 7 p.m. and here, and then I'm speaking with people in Japan and where it's like 11 a.m. So I just try to make it work in between my work schedule, and then I have a lot of meetings on my lunch hour as well. But for the pageant and for my work life balance, I've actually switched my schedule to work 4 days a week. That way I can have 3 solid days off a week. And I can really spend that time working my platform and doing the stroke of luck work that I'm so passionate about the other 3 days a week. So that really helps as well, having a really flexible work schedule and also a work schedule where your work knows how important your work is to you, and they're willing and able to accommodate that.
That's fantastic. You're amazing. I just got a notification that the computer is going to go off if I don't plug it in.
Okay.
Please stand by. One of our representatives will be with you momentarily.
You're so funny.
I've learned how to have a sixth sense of humor, which is probably what keeps me going. So
You have to.
you have to. Like, I hate that is really the reality, but like that's kind of what all of this is all about. Finding a way to be able to find the light in the darkness, which is there. And I know, again, I wish that I had had forethought to record some of the things that I went through, but watching your videos, like, I cry because I'm so amazed and astounded at of the woman that you are, and what you've been able to do, and what you've been able to take as, again, like I said, most people would take it as a tragedy, and you're just like, no, I'm going to do this. And like you, my husband's going along for the ride, going, okay, whatever you want. So, I
Yeah,
love that.
Dean definitely has to remind me every now and then to sleep, to rest, to eat, to
Self-care.
breathe. Yeah, like he's a good reminder of like, remember we went through this all before, right? So you need to remember that you are number one, you are a priority. You haven't had dinner yet tonight, and it is 7 p.m., so it is time. And so I couldn't do it without Dean, really. So
That's awesome. I couldn't do it without Mike. He reminds me often, take the time you need. And if I'm not feeling good, he's like, hey, I'll handle it. He says, you
Yeah,
just go rest. And I'm like, okay. So anyways, I want to tell you again, I'm so grateful to have you on, to hear your story and to just be able to share all the amazing things you're doing. I want all the viewers to be able to share and follow your journey to Mrs. International, which we hope that you win the title. But how do they follow you and be able to find out more about Stroke of Luck and more information, so that they can be able to help themselves or their families?
absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Mrs. Ohio INTL 2021. And I'm sure that we can put that in the description for
We
you
will.
to find as well. And then I'm on Facebook as Mrs. Ohio International 2021. So you can find me there as well. And any of the viewers are welcome to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. I speak to survivors every single day of my life at all hours because they're all over the world. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to help you in any way that I'm able to.
I just want you to thank you for making a difference, for always putting, even though you're putting yourself first now, by putting yourself first, it's allowing other people to have an amazing opportunity to get to know you and hear your story, and then hopefully help to protect themselves and their family members. So grateful for what you do. And thanks for being a guest. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Everybody say have a great day. We will see you next time on Pageantry Now.